Imagine this, a level of focus so deep, time disappears, where hours pass like minutes. And nothing, not noise, not notifications, not even your own thoughts, can pull you away. This isn't fantasy. This is the mental state ancient warriors lived by. Samurai entered it before battle. Shaolin monks trained it for decades. Zen masters guarded it like a secret. I've spent years studying over 100 texts, teachings, and traditions, and found the same three principles echoing across every one of them. Different cultures, different eras, same truth. So I unified them into one modern system. Senshin-do, the path to unshakable focus. And once you understand how it works, you'll never approach concentration the same way again. Because in this video, I'm not just going to show you how to eliminate distractions. I'm going to show you how to make distraction powerless. We'll break it all down into 4 simple steps. But first, we start with the one hidden mistake nearly everyone makes. The one reason your focus keeps breaking, even when you try harder. Even when you do everything right. Let's begin. Part 1. The ancient trap, Shuchaku. There's a Buddhist proverb, what you grasp, you lose. The tighter you squeeze water, the faster it slips away. This is the hidden reason focus feels impossible. We've been taught the wrong approach. Think about it. When you need to concentrate, what's your instinct? You push, you force it, you fight through the noise. But 2,000 years ago, Eastern masters uncovered a paradox. Attachment to focus is what destroys it. They called this trap Shuchaku, the destructive clinging of the mind. Modern science backs it up. When you try to force concentration, your prefrontal cortex burns glucose like a rocket engine. Within minutes, it's depleted. Your focus doesn't fade, it crashes. A Zen master put it best. The mind is like muddy water. Leave it alone and it clears. Stir it and it stays cloudy. We are the ones stirring, not the world, not the distractions. The act of forcing is what creates chaos. This is why monks can meditate for 12 hours without flinching. They're not superhuman. They simply stopped fighting. Think of quicksand. Every survival manual says don't thrash, don't fight, spread out. Let the physics help you. Force equals failure. Focus follows the same law. The more you grip it, the more it escapes. The samurai knew this before battle. They didn't hype themselves up or try to concentrate harder. They practiced something called no mind, a state where focus arises naturally through presence, not effort. Meanwhile, modern productivity teaches the opposite. Timers, apps, hacks, all based on force, but force always meets resistance. Push, and something pushes back. Your mind is no exception. Luckily, the ancients discovered a better way. 3 practices that build unstoppable focus without force. Let's begin with the first. First practice. The fixed point. Every ancient tradition, from yogis in India to Zen monks in Japan, began with the same foundation. Focus on one thing. Only one. Not 5 priorities, not 3 goals. One single target. They called it dharana, the art of single-pointed concentration. It's deceptively simple. So simple that most people ignore it. But that simplicity is exactly why it works. Your mind isn't a laser. It's a wild animal, twitching, scanning, leaping from branch to branch like a monkey in a storm. You cannot chain it down, but you can give it one branch to return to, one sacred point, an anchor in the chaos. This is the first principle of Senshin-do, the fixed point. The samurai knew this intimately. Miyamoto Musashi, undefeated in over 60 lethal duels, would sit motionless, staring at the tip of his sword for hours. Just the tip. He said, in battle, that one point is all that exists. If the mind drifts, the blade does too, and then you die. He wasn't training his eyes, he was sharpening his awareness, his ability to return again and again until his mind was as still and as deadly as steel. But this isn't just for warriors. Monks train this same principle differently. A flickering candle flame, the rise and fall of breath, a single word repeated until all other thoughts dissolve. It didn't matter what the point was. What mattered was the act of returning. The warrior who looks at everything sees nothing. The warrior who looks at one thing sees everything. Scattered attention is powerless. Lasered attention becomes a weapon. Modern science now confirms what the ancients felt. When you hold a single point of focus, the brain's default mode network, the region responsible for mental noise, quietly shuts down. Activity shifts from chaos to clarity. You literally rewire your brain to become more present, more disciplined, and more clear. Every time you return your attention to that point, you build the mental muscle of presence. Like a swordsman practicing one strike 10,000 times. You engrave clarity into your nervous system, and this isn't theory. You can apply it right now, in your life. If you're a writer, choose one word to return to when your mind drifts. If you're in sales, one phrase to center you before each call. If you work with your hands, one precise movement to anchor your attention. This is your point, your edge, your sword. But beware, an anchor without flexibility becomes a chain. A blade that is too rigid shatters in battle. And that's why the masters moved on. To the second practice, the deep flow. Second practice, the deep flow. There's a Zen saying, be like water, present everywhere, attached nowhere. This is the difference between amateur focus and master focus. One is rigid, the other flows. Think of a moment where everything clicked. You weren't trying, you were just in it. Time vanished. Action felt effortless. That was chanding, meditative absorption. You didn't force it. You flowed into it. Elite athletes call it the zone. Artists, the pocket. Samurai, no mind. Muhammad Ali said, float like a butterfly. Bruce Lee said, be water. They were all describing the same truth. Rigidity is death. Flow is power. Here's the paradox. Flow begins with force, but ends with surrender. The beginner grips their sword tight. The master holds it like a living thing, firm but loose. Same with your mind. At first, white-knuckle focus, exhausting. Later, and driving for hours, totally locked in when with zero effort. That's the difference between holding focus and being held by it. One is control. The other is prison. And yet, even the deepest flow is fragile. A noise, a buzz, a shoulder tap, and it breaks. So the ancient masters created a third layer, not to stop interruption, but to transform it. Third practice. The guardian. There's a warrior proverb, guard the one, and 10,000 fall in line. This is Shou-yu, the practice of instant return. Think of it like a bodyguard for your mind. You don't need perfect silence, you need an internal sentinel that snaps you back the moment you drift. The samurai couldn't afford even a second of lost focus. So they trained something called Zanshin, remaining mind. A watchful awareness that stays alert, even in deep immersion. It works in 3 steps. Notice, the moment your mind drifts. Release, without drama, judgment, or self-hate. Return, back to your anchor, back to flow. This cycle becomes your muscle memory. A Zen master once said, the moment you notice your mind wandering is enlightenment. The noticing is the practice. Take Josh Waitzkin, chess prodigy and martial artist. He couldn't concentrate because his sister blasted music nearby. At first, he begged for silence. Then his coach told him the truth. If you can only focus in quiet, you'll lose. So Josh trained in chaos. He used the music itself as the trigger to return. Thousands of times. Notice, release, return. Until the music stopped mattering. That's Senshin-do in action. Forget perfect conditions, they create fragile focus. Chaos builds resilience. A monk who trains only in quiet temples gets destroyed in the real world. But one who trains amidst chaos? Unbreakable. Now imagine you're in deep work. Someone calls your name. The untrained mind takes 5 minutes to recover. With Zanshin, it takes 5 seconds. No charge, no story, just return. The ancients compared it to a cliff and the waves. The waves crash. The cliff remains. You become the cliff. And here's the magic. The more you train, the more automatic it becomes, like blinking, like breathing. The guardian trains itself. Final integration. One system, 3 forces. Now you have the full system, the fixed point, your anchor, the flow state, your effortless depth. The guardian, your return mechanism. Alone they are powerful, together they are invincible. Each completes the other. Focus without flow becomes brittle. Flow without an anchor becomes directionless. Both without the guardian become vulnerable. Together they form Senshin-do, a discipline forged in stillness, strengthened by chaos and mastered through presence. The fixed point is your sword. Deep flow is how you wield it. The guardian is your ever-watchful mind. A samurai with only a sword dies. One who flows without anchor gets lost. One without awareness gets ambushed. But one who masters all 3 becomes unstoppable. But one warning. Once you've felt this level of clarity, returning to distraction feels like hell, like a warrior forced back into farming. Your brain won't tolerate chaos anymore. You've been warned.